excited that they made it into Top Cut as they are, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And we do have, of course, that big highlight match, like you mentioned, Joe. We are going to kick off top 8 with the Ashton Cox against Aaron Traylor match, which is definitely a very exciting one to be featuring here in top 8. Of course, these are two world-class players, with Ashton having an extremely consistent run of success in the Sun Series alongside Jeremy Rodriguez, his team-building partner. He was able to win an international championship during the Sun Series down in Brazil. And with that team that is now really a very prevalent archetype, the Xerneas-Lunala combination. And funnily enough, Aaron will also be running that restricted combination, so we will see a mirror match as far as restricted pairings go here. And Aaron, a very accomplished player in his own right, having finished runner-up at the national championships the last time we had a restricted format, and also Top Cut Worlds this year. So really two of the best players in the U.S., two of the best players in the world will be duking it out here in Dallas in top 8.
And I'm interested in seeing what happens in this match where they have the same paired restricteds, as Aaron shows off that he's a very talented artist. And Ashton, like his team, I remember talking with people out in the venue yesterday. It was either you faced 6 or 7 Xerneas-Lunala teams, or you faced none. Like that was like kind of the prevailing conversations yesterday. It was either the most prevalent and like threatening combination, or you over prep for it and you never even faced it. It was just so interesting how this tournament ended up at.
Yeah, and it definitely can seem like that's a pretty prevalent phenomenon in any tournament like this, but given that it's such a powerful and influential restricted combination, it's kind of funny how that works out. That you either dodge it completely or you just run into it over and over again. Of course, we do have the mirror match here in the top 8 with just some slight Pokemon changes. Of course, Aaron, as we saw yesterday, has opted to run Landorus Therian. Our old friend has made his return finally to this restricted format, which you tend not to see him so much in. And Ashton, of course, is running that Como-O that we didn't get to see on stream yesterday and probably won't see in this matchup, but really interesting change that he's made to his own team that he kind of popularized in Sun Series.
It's more there for star power alone, Como-O's a big name, so he's there as a cheerleader helping out the team. I think I'm more impressed with his choice of plushie than his artistic skills, actually. I think that's Aaron always does bring the heat when it comes to plushes. I will give him credit for that.
He's got some good plushes, and the Sad Bonsly is definitely a good one to be packing there, in addition to his beautiful Ghastly Evolution coloring, which he seems very proud of. So good for Aaron here. And here are your two players for our first match of top 8 here at Dallas. Our first regional of the Moon Series, Joe, with teams up on stream. On the left and bottom side of your screen is Ashton Cox, who will be running that team that he did so well with in Sun Series with Xerneas, Amoonguss, Incineroar, Lunala, Como-O, and Crobat. And of course, Aaron running a similar version of the same restricted combination, that Xerneas, Lunala, Toxicroak, Smeargle, Incineroar, and Landorus Therian.
Very similar, but some things that really point out. Obviously, you have Xerneas and Lunala, but both trainers have a poison type that would hit Xerneas, but is also weak to Lunala. So it's a little circle going on in that. Then you, instead of Como-O on Ashton's side, Aaron, is opting for the Landers. That is an additional Intimidate in case there are any physical attackers like the Incineroar on Ashton's team that can help. And then Amoonguss and Smeargle is the difference there. Both have Rage Powder. Both are annoying to face against, in my opinion, but they do similar but different roles. They both have Spore, Rage Powder, and I love that they have like the same archetypes filled but with different Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely. They've just kind of chosen to select different support Pokemon. And of course, you see that Toxicroak on Aaron's team was something that Ashton was running until the format change, where he replaced it with that Como-O. And I think we're definitely going to see some Smeargle from Aaron's side of the field, because not only does it do a lot of the things that Amoonguss does well, but it also kind of one-ups it in the sense that it can run things like Lovely Kiss, which would allow it to actually put Amoonguss to sleep. It can run Crafty Shield to block some of the things that Amoonguss wants to do. And here we go. We're jumping right into our turn 0 here with both players' leads. Joe, take it away.
All right, turn 1 of game 1 of the Dallas 2019 Regional Championships. First game of the day, Ashton Cox, Aaron Traylor. Ashton on the bottom of your screen with Crobat Lunala, and Aaron on top with Lunala and Smeargle.
And I briefly mentioned that Smeargle was a Pokemon that kind of responds to some of the things that Amoonguss wants to do better. Well, Crobat is one of those things that can respond to a lot of what Smeargle wants to do with access to things like Taunt. It can use Quick Guard, it can use Haze to get rid of some of those boosts, so it does have a way to sort of shut down Smeargle. And it looks like Ashton here at the turn 1 lead was maybe one step ahead. It may be expecting that Smeargle lead. And another fun dynamic, right now everybody is running Timid Lunala. So if you lose that speed tie, you may just drop to a Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom.
That is a problem that Ashton does not want to face right now, and I know many players would rather switch out and not even have to worry about the speed tie and not deal with it. But we do have Crafty Shield actually from the Smeargle here on turn 1, calling the taunt from Crobat. So that because of Crafty Shield, that taunt was blocked. And now Lunala, wow, for turn 1, we already got our first Z move of the day.
Right, and you said Ashton does not want to deal with that speed tie right now. Aaron does want to deal with that speed tie right now, and he is fully comfortable going straight for this Z move into one of those slots on Ashton's side, presumably into that Lunala slot. And a good switch by Ashton to catch it with that bulky Dark-type Incineroar, who is not going to take too much damage from the Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom, but still quite a bit because of how powerful this Z move is. And really a nice Crafty Shield by Aaron. It was a really popular move back in the 2016 restricted format to block Dark Voids from opposing Smeargle. That is a lot of damage, Joe.
Wow. Oh, that thanks to the critical hit. So that is unfortunate for Ashton that on turn 1 he gets the critical hit. And he does get an accuracy increase, though, so if he is carrying Lovely Kiss, that will be more likely to connect.
And he also got the evasiveness boost, so now he's going to be unable to dodge any Super Fangs from Crobat if that is what it's running. But Smeargle leaving the field here on turn 2.
And in comes the Incineroar for Aaron into that Smeargle slot, wanting to have an Intimidate, so he can, make sure that if the Crobat has Brave Bird or a poison attack, it would be doing less damage. And then Ashton is just going to have to fake out that slot, which really doesn't help since Incineroar just switched in. And there's move number 2 from the Lunala, which is the Tailwind. So now Aaron's Pokemon will have their speed doubled for the next 3 turns, and Crobat will be hit super effectively with the Size Shock, but not knocked out.
All right, so Ashton's team now is speedier than Aaron's team for the next 3 turns thanks to that Tailwind. And Aaron is continuing to play very boldly with his Lunala here. He went right for that Z move on turn 1 and decided that in the face of an Incineroar, he is just going to leave his Lunala right there and go for that Size Shock onto Crobat. So Aaron generating a lot of offense with his Lunala these first 2 turns just by kind of being maybe one step ahead of Ashton, expecting that maybe he won't target it.
Lunala will protect here, so doesn't want to get hit with anything from Incineroar like a knockoff. And the fake out from Aaron's Incineroar into Crobat will take it down. So Aaron is up 4-3 in this Pokemon match right now. And the U-turn from Ashton's Incineroar gets blocked by Protect.
And Aaron is just playing this Lunala extremely well right now. The first 2 turns, one step ahead with those offensive attacks. And then on turn 3, he decides, yep, now it's time to protect, and is able to block that U-turn from Ashton. But of course, now Ashton's own Lunala is able to take the field with Tailwind up, so he is going to have a free shot at that Lunala slot with a Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom because Aaron's Incineroar is already on the field. That switch that's so nice to get into that slot is not available to him right now. But if this is Smeargle, guess what? It's not going to take any damage from a Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom.
That's right. If we go all the way back, Generation 1, it would be immune. You learn you're immune to that attack. But a Size Shock into the slot will bring it down to its Focus Sash critical hit, obviously not mattering in this scenario. And the knockoff from Ashton's Incineroar, the double target into that slot, unfortunately, Smeargle is the one who has to take the hit so Lunala can hang around. And a Snarl from Aaron's Incineroar will lower the special attack of both the Incineroar, but mainly the Lunala, because now Aaron's Lunala, when it switches back in, maybe would probably live an attack where it might not have otherwise.
Right, and definitely it's going to allow Xerneas, which Aaron has opted to bring onto the field here, to take that Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom much more comfortably. Snarl, a really important move when you're facing these Xerneas Lunala teams because of how effectively Incineroar can just sit there and click it over and over again. And it's definitely given Aaron an edge here. He's been able to bust Shadow Shield and also reduce the amount of damage that incredibly powerful Z move from Lunala would do. So it looks likely that Aaron will be able to get up this Geomancy either this turn or next if he wants it.
Yeah, it seems like that is that's always the priority as a as a Xerneas player, is to find the open window in a match to have your Geomancy turn. So it could happen turn 1, it could happen when you're down to your last 2 Pokemon. It really is such a situational move, which what makes these top players so different, and their ability to always have safe positions for their Geomancy on their Xerneas. But this turn is not that turn, as Aaron decides, because a Z move is coming out and likely targeting that Xerneas slot. So now we'll be at a -1 special attack thanks to the Snarl and going through Protect. So this menacing Moonraze Maelstrom really will not be effective at all.
Yeah, and Aaron continues to play well. Kind of feels like he's been a step ahead of Ashton here, and he definitely is on this turn, where he's able to get that Snarl down the turn before, and then, like you said, Joe, get that Protect down. So this is going to do only a quarter damage, and then, of course, less thanks to the special attack drop. And it does leave Aaron's own Incineroar open here to go for something like another Snarl, maybe a knockoff, maybe a U-turn into that Lunala slot, and really continue to mitigate the force that it is having here. And, of course, it looks likely that Geomancy will be going up next turn, Joe.
And the Flare Blitz from Incineroar goes into Xerneas' Protect, so a very rough turn for Ashton. And another Snarl here from Incineroar for Aaron here. So now that Lunala is at -2, and you start to wonder as Tailwind peters out, if the Incineroar U-turn would be able to knock out the Lunala and he gets free positioning.
I think it would not quite get the knockout here, Joe, but I think the more important piece of this turn is that there is nothing that Ashton can really do, barring something like a Roar on his Incineroar, to stop Aaron from getting Geomancy up. And one thing that we were kind of talking about a little bit yesterday on stream during Aaron's match is the speeds of the Xerneas. And yesterday on stream, Aaron's Xerneas was very consistently faster than the Xerneas that he was opposing. And Ashton, since back in Sun Series, this is one of the things that you can talk about because of how long he's been running this team, was consistently running that modest Xerneas. So if this Geomancy goes up, even if Ashton has Xerneas in the back, it seems likely that Aaron's going to be able to consistently outspeed it here as we go through the end game.
And here is the first Geomancy of the day, thanks to Aaron Traylor with his Xerneas. Geomancy will boost Xerneas special attack, special defense, and speed by 2 stages, so it makes it immeasurably bulky compared to this Lunala right now at -2 special attack. It's really not too worried about any attack from that. And then we're going to have the Side Shock, which is going to hit actually on the defensive side, which is nice because he doesn't have to worry about the Geomancy boost. Still really not doing any damage at all to the Xerneas. Incineroar from Ashton will Flare Blitz the Xerneas, so 2 turns in a row, a double target into that slot. Take a little bit of recoil, but not enough to activate its potential Pinch Berry, and a U-turn from the Incineroar will be able to, so that Ashton can switch out into his final Pokemon, which was the Lunala from earlier.
Right, and as we saw yesterday on stream, Joe, Aaron does have access to Psych Up as his move of choice on that Lunala, and it seems likely that there's not a whole lot that Ashton can do to stop something like a Dazzling Gleam or a Moonblast followed by a Psych Up, and that could just seal the game. And we did see that Aaron is running, it's confirmed that he's running that Timid Xerneas as he outspeeds that Lunala that turn, and I think Ashton's play really with those 2 attacks into the Xerneas slot was just kind of hoping for a critical hit. I think that was his out at this point in the game because as it stands, Aaron's boosted Xerneas is just primed to kind of run through the rest of the team here.
Right, and that would have, especially if it came from the Lunala, that critical hit would have definitely been a factor in if Xerneas would have been able to take the hit or not. And yeah, in this spot, if Dazzling Gleam with the Geomancy boost is the safe option for Aaron, because he can just pick up a couple KOs here. But not anymore, because the Xerneas probably will not get 1 hit, even with the Geomancy boost, as it switches in. So the Ashton is revealing his last Pokemon here, and Lunala with a Protect, expecting either a Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam, and it is a Moonblast, but it goes into the Xerneas slot. So it was actually, Aaron was just trying to knock out the Incineroar, and instead he knocks out the Xerneas from full HP, and Incineroar is going to have to come back in, facing 2 Pokemon on Aaron's side of the field with boosted special attack, special defense, and speed.
And if the game wasn't over the previous turn, Joe, it definitely is now, as Aaron has a combined 12 total boosts on his side of the field at this point, with both Xerneas and Lunala having that +2 special attack, +2 special defense, and +2 speed. So Ashton has played himself into a position where he can maybe go for something, like he can try a fake out plus psych up, but all Aaron really has to do here is just kind of click attacks, and it's time to look towards game 2. And I don't necessarily think that from Ashton's side, Joe, we're necessarily looking at, an adjustment in which Pokemon he brings. But Aaron was one step ahead. The first 2 turns of the game, getting those offensive moves down onto Ashton's side of the field. And then even as he's able to, catch the Protect, get Snarls down onto Lunala, it just seemed like he was playing ahead of Ashton. And if Ashton can kind of respond to Aaron, trying to ramp up the pace a little bit, maybe try and slow it down, maybe make a few reads of his own, he's definitely not out of this. Definitely not.
Right. I mean, Ashton's one of the best players in the world, so we definitely understand that he can make a comeback and get a potential, or game 2 and a potential game 3. And he is very good at making adjustments also. That's one thing you notice is he's never out of it, like a crit or a burn or anything, some type of things that are unexpected. They really don't falter him, and he doesn't stop, and he understands his goal. And where other players would get a little bit upset, it really doesn't affect him as much.
Definitely.
And so that attack will knock out the Lunala. So now it's just Incineroar by his lonesome, and this will wrap up game 1.
Yeah, this is not a good position for Incineroar. A lot of times it does like to be sitting in against these 2 Pokemon, but definitely not when they're all boosted out of their minds at this point. And one thing I do want to talk about, Joe, and it's something that I guess is pretty consistent across this game as a phenomenon, is when you have these 2 teams that are facing off against each other that are very similar. They have the same restricted combo, definitely a lot of the same ideas. You look at what's different about the 2 teams, right? And in this game, what really jumped out to me was the Snarl on Incineroar, and it's a tech that's kind of started to evolve a little bit more specifically for the prevalence of this archetype, right? You can sit there with your Incineroar, and neither Xerneas nor Lunala can really do a whole lot to you unless they have those boosts, so it gives you the opportunity to just sit there, click Snarl once or twice, and it drastically mitigates the amount of pressure that this restricted combination can put down. And clearly it did a lot of work for Aaron there in that game, and it didn't seem to be something that Ashton is carrying. So if Aaron can continue to use that slight difference to really continue to push that advantage, this could be a pretty good game 2 for him. Definitely something Ashton has to respond to a little bit earlier.
I think a response could be a change in the Pokemon that Ashton brings here. We saw on turn 1 with the Lunala mirror on the same side, he opted out of the speed tie, the potential speed tie. So if you are afraid of that and taking a Z move and just losing your Pokemon on turn 1, an addition of Amoonguss can really help you with your Xerneas and letting your Xerneas set up Geomancy, because you can Rage Powder, you can put things to sleep, so you can have an opportune turn to bring Xerneas in. I think, and we didn't see Amoonguss in game 1, so that might be a nice adjustment.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something he could consider, but after seeing Crafty Shield from Smeargle, it definitely probably makes you think twice about it, right? Because it's very difficult for Amoonguss to get things going in the face of Smeargle because of Fake Out, because of Follow Me. We've seen Aaron has that Crafty Shield, and of course, Aaron with Lovely Kiss will be able to just put Amoonguss to sleep. So I think it's something that you could consider if you have a very tailored game plan. I think maybe another adjustment from Ashton's side might be to utilize Crobat a little bit better. As we did see, the Tailwind, was set up a little bit late. I think he set it up on turn 2 or 3, and if he's maybe able to get that going a little bit earlier, that obviously, because of how hard Lunalas hit each other, could definitely turn the tides a little bit. Additionally, if he's carrying something like Haze on Crobat, we saw Aaron really run through the endgame with those boosts. And if he's able to kind of get rid of those boosts with Tailwind up, that could definitely change the way that things play out.
Yeah, that would be a huge difference, because as Ashton saw firsthand in game 1, you don't want to face off against 2 Geomancy restricted Pokemon
Definitely
at once.
Not.
That's not the ideal play. So I would like to see if Ashton does make an adjustment in his lead matchup here, or if he just brings the Lunala again, as it is a Xerneas and Amoonguss lead for Ashton. And for Aaron, who won game 1, he didn't really have to change anything and leads Smeargle and Lunala again.
Yeah, definitely an interesting position here on turn 1. And like I was kind of talking about, Smeargle definitely does have the advantage as far as support over Amoonguss, especially given the moves that we've seen from Aaron. Now that we know he has Crafty Shield that blocks Spore entirely, he has access to Fake Out. And then Lovely Kiss would, just kind of remove Amoonguss entirely. Well, 75% of the time, remove its threat. So definitely more supportive options from Aaron's side with that Smeargle. And I think something like a fake out followed by a Z move into that Xerneas slot, just kind of like he went for on turn 1, could be a good option. And knowing that Ashton likes to run that modest Xerneas, if it is slower than Lunala, it wouldn't be able to get that Geomancy up before it has to take that Z move. So it feels like Aaron has the pressure on his side here on turn 1.
No switch out. Last time Incineroar switched into that slot, but now Xerneas is going to have to take that attack. So here is Lunala going for the Menacing Moonrays Maelstrom yet again. It seems Aaron being very aggressive here on these early turns, not holding on to his Z move, knowing he's got to use it while he has it.
Right, and this does kind of give you the edge. It's probably not going to pick up a knockout, but if you're able to do, 75, 80% to the Xerneas with a big Z move in exchange for Geomancy, it's a Geomancy at what cost? And it gives Aaron the opportunity to, do a lot of different things later in the game to try and deal with Xerneas. If he's able to get his own Geomancy up, he can just, Dazzling Gleam to knock it out. Some combinations of fake. Oh, and it just wipes it right off the field.
A one-hit KO from the Lunala into the Xerneas, and I don't even. The crowd seemed like they weren't expecting it.
I was not expecting that to be a KO, Joe. And Smeargle gets a speed boost on turn 1
Smeargle does what he does best, gets the speed boost. He gets the one boost that you always don't want him to have. That's what he's good at.
And this is going to be really tough for Ashton to come back from. I think his best, his play was like, I'm going to try and take this Z move and I'm going to get my Geomancy up. But he does not get the Geomancy up. Lunala removes it from the field immediately. Now Incineroar here, the switch in for Ashton, which is going to get fake out pressure onto Smeargle. But, you can't fake out Smeargle and then also have pressure with that Lunala. And one thing to watch for is Amoonguss' item here. If it's running Pyapa Berry, this could be a little bit of a different turn because it would allow it to take that Psyshock from Lunala. But Crafty Shield, the play here from Smeargle. No fake out from Ashton. Oh, and it goes first. That's right.
It's Crafty Shield went before fake out. It had higher priority, just like Wide Guard and moves like that.
Yeah.
So the Psyshock, Amoonguss is able to eat that because of its Pyapa Berry, but the Spore from Amoonguss is going to be blocked by the Crafty Shield as the Smeargle is just paying off so much right now. He gets the accuracy boost, but you know what? Or accuracy decrease, but he got a speed boost, so it evens out.
And I don't think you even want to mess around with Lovely Kiss here at this point. You're just able to kind of sit here and continue to click Crafty Shield as Aaron continues to lay down this offensive pressure in the early game with his Lunala. So something like a Crafty Shield followed by a Psyshock into that Amoonguss slot could definitely be a good play from Aaron as he still does have that Shadow Shield intact. So there's nothing that Incineroar can do to threaten a KO here.
Here is the -1 accuracy Lovely Kiss connecting onto Incineroar here. Everything is just coming up Aaron right now in this match as Incineroar falls asleep, and the Psyshock from Aaron's Lunala into Ashton's will be very ineffective, but it does break that Shadow Shield.
Yeah, and Aaron decides, I'm up a game. I'm up in this game too here. Maybe I'll just go for it. Maybe I'll see what happens. And he is rewarded for going for that Lovely Kiss, and this is a perfect position for Aaron. While Ashton would usually have the pressure from his Z move onto Aaron's Lunala here, a Follow Me from Smeargle will eat the Z move, and it will do absolutely nothing to Smeargle because of that normal typing, which would allow Aaron to just respond with the Moongeist Beam and just knock it out because that Shadow Shield has already been broken. And here's a Protect as Ashton's just trying to fish for sleep turns and get an early wake here.
Right, he's hoping that Incineroar will eventually wake up while he's still healthy, and then the Lunala will protect on this turn so it doesn't take any damage as Aaron does go for the Moongeist Beam into Ashton's Lunala. So a very null turn here. Nothing happened. But the big thing was Incineroar did not wake up.
Incineroar does revenge.
And he gets an evasion.
The evasion
the Triforce of Smeargle. Speed, evasion, and accuracy.
Yeah, and he did get that evasion boost, which is going to make things much more difficult here for Ashton. I was kind of wondering whether or not Aaron would maybe try and go for a Lovely Kiss into this Lunala slot and a Protect on his own Lunala to just kind of, cover the Amoonguss switch in. But I think now that he has the evasion boost, he doesn't really have a reason to not just go for the Follow Me followed by another Moongeist Beam, and he'll just tag that Amoonguss that comes in with a Moongeist Beam if it chooses to.
This is, looking very dire for our
and he's staying in.
Our latest international champion, Ashton Cox. A Follow Me from Smeargle will direct any attacks, including this Z move from from Ashton here, so that is going to do exactly 0 damage to Smeargle.
Right, and it looks kind of like Ashton was going for maybe catching Aaron, making that play that I was just talking about. If Aaron maybe tried to fly too close to the sun and go for that, the lovely kiss into the Lunala slot, maybe trying to catch Aaron getting a little ahead of himself. But no, Aaron is just going to make that safe play. He believes in those evasion boosts and is able to just get a Moongeist Beam onto that Lunala as Incineroar takes Incineroar takes another turn of sleep. So this game is just about over, Joe. Aaron still has his Xerneas in the back that he can pretty freely bring in at any point next to this Smeargle. And you really see why Smeargle really is the king of support Pokemon.
I think Smeargle's the only one who's taking damage on Aaron's side, right?
In
all 4 Pokemon.
Aaron actually hasn't even revealed his 2 Pokemon
That's
in the
right.
back yet. He led with that Smeargle Lunala and was just able to continuously put down that offense onto Ashton's side of the field in combination with a little bit of help from Moody, and I think maybe a positive roll from that Menacing Moonrays Maelstrom.
That was so
1.
shocking to me.
I was not expecting it to KO either, so I'm going to have to talk to Aaron about it. Maybe it's a roll. I'm not super familiar because I think we saw it at least once or twice on stream yesterday, Xerneas take that Menacing Moonrays Maelstrom. So I'll ask him about it, and I think, it was still probably the right play for him because he had, other options to lay down that remaining damage, and it was still going to do, 80% minimum or something like that. But instead, he's rewarded for his high-octane play with a free knockout on turn 1.
Yeah, that was very exciting to see. And then you learn something new every day. I'm not very familiar with the Crafty Shield mechanics. It's not, at least in 2016, it wasn't like it was an option for Smeargle, but it wasn't, one of maybe the top 5 or 6.
I think it actually was, Joe.
I don't know.
2016, even more so because it blocks Dark Void.
You're getting into different mind games. Like I think of Fake Out, Follow Me.
I think Crafty was
Dark
one of its
Void.
best moves in 2016.
It might have been, but we did see that the Crafty Shield went before Fake Out on that turn that Ashton went for the Fake Out.
Maybe the same priority.
It could be, or Ashton was expecting maybe a different attack and not the Crafty Shield from the Smeargle. So that was it. Definitely, there were some tough turns where in both games the game could have switched dramatically if Ashton might have had some favorable moments.
Right, definitely, and I think maybe some less favorable Moody boosts, maybe getting something. I think something Ashton could have done at some point was maybe try to opt into that Lunala speed tie and just hope that I get my Menacing Moonrays Maelstrom down before you get yours. And instead, he's not really getting himself into a position like that in game 2, and Aaron just kind of kept his pedal to the metal throughout the series there. So a big congratulations to Aaron, who is our first victor here in the top 8 of Dallas Regional Championships. So we're going to take a brief look at the bracket here to see what Aaron moves on to here and look towards his opponents for top 4. Of course, Ken Huang and Nick Navarre will be the match that decides Aaron's eventual opponent in the top 4, so stay tuned for that one as our first member of top 4 has revealed itself. So again, big congratulations to Aaron. We are going to take a brief break here, and we're going to get a quick interview in with Aaron as we set up for our next top 8 match. So to reiterate, Joe, we are going to be here for all top 8 matches, all top 4 matches, and the final here of the Dallas Regional Championship. So stay tuned. We've got a couple of hours of action-packed Pokemon action for you. So don't go anywhere.